Jane loved winter, the crisp air, the blanket of snow covering everything, and the way the world seemed to slow down, wrapped in a serene silence. Snow days meant sledding with friends, building snowmen, and warming up with a steaming mug of hot chocolate by the fire. It was her favorite time of year. But this day felt different. A chill hung in the air, sharper than usual, cutting through her layers of clothing. The sky was a steely grey, and the wind whispered secrets of an approaching storm. Walking home from school, Jane heard a faint whimper. It was almost drowned out by the crunch of her boots on the snow, but it was there, persistent and heart-wrenching. The sound led her to a cardboard box tucked behind a dumpster, partially covered in snow. She hesitated for a moment, her breath visible in the cold air, before kneeling down to investigate. Inside, a tiny puppy shivered, all alone. His fur was matted with ice, and he looked up at her with pleading eyes, his small body trembling from the cold. He was the color of caramel and had big, sad eyes that seemed to ask for help. Jane's heart ached for the little creature. Jane knew she couldn't leave him there, not in this freezing weather. She felt a surge of determination to help this helpless pup. She scooped him up, his fur like ice against her cheek, and held him tight. Jane named him Major, hoping the strong name would give him strength. Maybe it was the way he stood so proud, even as a tiny thing, or the way his eyes seemed to hold a spark of resilience, or maybe Jane just knew he was destined for big things. There was an unspoken connection between them, a bond that felt unbreakable. She wrapped him in her scarf and carried him home, his warmth spreading through her like a promise of better days. Each step felt lighter, knowing she was making a difference. He was so small, so vulnerable, and yet there was a strength in his eyes that gave Jane hope. Jane promised him, right then and there, that she would always keep him safe. No matter what, Major would never be alone again. At first, Jane's parents were hesitant. "A puppy is a big responsibility," her dad said. Her mum worried about the mess, but Jane was determined. She promised to walk him, feed him, and clean up after him. She even offered to use her allowance to help with his care. Most importantly, she showed them how much Major needed them, just like she did. One look at Major's big, pleading eyes and their hearts melted. His tail thumped against the floor. He licked their hands with his tiny pink tongue. He was irresistible. Jane's parents agreed to give Major a chance. Little did they know, this little ball of fur would soon become an irreplaceable part of their family. Years flew by. Major grew bigger and stronger. His puppy clumsiness gave way to graceful strides. He was always by Jane's side. He'd wait patiently for her at the bus stop each morning, his tail wagging furiously when he spotted her. In the park, they'd play fetch until the sun began to set. Major wasn't just Jane's pet. He was her best friend, her confidant. He'd snuggle up to her when she was sad, his warmth a comfort. He'd greet her with boundless enthusiasm, always happy to see her. Their bond, forged on that cold winter day, grew stronger with each passing season. They were inseparable, two souls connected by an invisible thread of love and loyalty. Section 4. Facing Down Bullies. One day, Jane and Major were walking home from school. A group of older kids approached, their expressions mean. They started teasing Jane, their words like stones thrown at her heart. Jane tried to ignore them, but her heart pounded in her chest. She felt small and alone. Suddenly, Major stepped in front of Jane. He stood tall, his fur bristling, a low growl rumbling in his chest. He barked once, sharp and loud. The bullies, taken aback by Major's fierce protection, backed down. They mumbled under their breath and scurried away. Jane knelt down and hugged Major, burying her face in his fur. He had faced them down, protected her. He was her hero. Section 5. A Day at the Shop. One bright and sunny Saturday morning, Jane and her mum decided to visit Mr. Smith's grocery store. It was their favorite place to shop because of the friendly atmosphere and the fresh produce. Mr. Smith, the store owner, always greeted them with a kind smile. He had a special fondness for Jane and never failed to give her an extra cookie whenever she visited. His warm demeanor made everyone feel welcome. As they were browsing the aisles looking for their favorite snacks, a sudden and loud crash echoed through the store, startling everyone. The sound was so unexpected that it made Jane jump. Out of nowhere, two masked figures dressed entirely in black burst into the store, yelling aggressively. One of them was holding a gun, which sent a wave of fear through the shoppers. "Everybody on the ground!" one of the robbers shouted, his voice filled with menace. The command was clear and terrifying. People screamed in panic and immediately dropped to the floor, trying to make themselves as small as possible. Jane's heart raced as she clung to her mother, feeling a mix of fear and confusion. In the chaos, Jane managed to find a hiding spot behind a shelf. She pulled her loyal dog, Major, close to her, hoping they wouldn't be found. Major was trembling just as much as Jane, but he licked her hand gently, as if to reassure her that everything would be all right. His presence gave her a small sense of comfort. One of the robbers made his way to the cash register and began grabbing all the money he could find, stuffing it into a bag with hurried movements. Meanwhile, the other robber started shoving food from the shelves into another bag, taking anything and everything within reach. It was clear they were desperate. Mr. Smith, trying to keep his composure, pleaded with the robbers to take what they wanted and leave. His voice was shaking, but he hoped to avoid any further violence. Despite the fear gripping her, Jane knew she had to do something. She couldn't just sit there and watch. With Major by her side, she felt a surge of determination. Section 6. Major the Hero. As the robbers turned to leave, their backs to Jane and Major, she whispered, "Major, go!" Like a furry missile, Major shot out from their hiding place. He launched himself at the robber with the bag, knocking him off balance. The robber stumbled, crashing into his accomplice. The gun clattered to the floor, skidding across the tiles. The commotion gave Mr. Smith the chance to grab the fallen gun. He pointed it at the robbers, his hand shaking but firm. "Don't move!" he shouted. The robbers, disarmed and defeated, surrendered. The police arrived within minutes, sirens wailing. They handcuffed the robbers and thanked Mr. Smith and Major for their bravery. Section 7. A Bond Unbreakable. This is the story of Major, a German shepherd whose bravery and loyalty touched the hearts of an entire community. News of Major's bravery spread through the town like wildfire. It wasn't long before everyone knew his name and the incredible acts he had performed. He was hailed as a hero. People from all walks of life came to see him, to pet him, and to thank him for his courage. The local newspaper ran a front-page story with a picture of Major, his tail wagging proudly. The headline read, "Local Hero with a Heart of Gold." The mayor awarded him a Medal of Honor, which he wore proudly on his collar. The ceremony was attended by the entire town, cheering and clapping for their four-legged hero. Jane, beaming, knew he deserved all the praise. She had always believed in Major, but seeing the community's reaction filled her with immense pride. Through it all, Major remained the same loving, loyal companion. He never let the attention change him. He was still Jane's faithful friend, always by her side. He was proof that even the smallest creature can have the biggest heart. His actions spoke louder than words, showing everyone the true meaning of bravery and love. His bravery reminded everyone that heroes can come in all shapes and sizes, sometimes with four legs and a wagging tail. Major's story inspired many to look at their own pets with newfound admiration. And for Jane, he would always be her hero, her best friend, her Major. Their adventures together were countless, each day bringing new memories and deeper bonds. Their bond, unbreakable, would last a lifetime. In a world full of uncertainties, their love and loyalty to each other remained a constant, a testament to the power of a true bond.